Hey again guys, we're back for another video. Sorry I haven't been on in a couple days to do some more, but I've been really busy since pretty much the end of last week, so I haven't had an opportunity. Where we left off, we just finished with the Dreadfell dungeon and completed the ambush, and we were getting ready to try and see as far as we could get on our meager one remaining life, so we're just going to go back to where we started, and we're going to try and get as far as we can into the east so I can show you what the end game or late game of ToME looks like as best as I can. I don't know how long this is going to last, or if this will even be my, or this will or won't be my last video, given, you know, how difficult this part of the game gets, and how little room for error that we're going to have, but we're going to give it a shot, and we're going to see how far we can go. And you know, I don't know. I set this to 1, and this is the difference between 0 and 1. I'm going to tune this down a little bit if I can. There. Alright. Now, after you finish Dreadfell, all of the shops in the game re-roll, so if you're looking for anything in particular, it doesn't hurt to go take a look at all the shops you've been to. This shop, the merchant shop that opens up after you save the merchant, will sometimes have artifacts in it, so you'll always want to check this, even if you don't need any items. But I would give everything a once-over. If you're missing anything like water breathing at this point in the game, it's always a good idea to check. Stormbringer gauntlets. If we were playing an arcane blade, these would be an incredible item to find, especially the next patch. The next patch will have arcane blades a lot more dependent on lightning damage than they have been in the past. Nothing really special. All the items here are kind of capped out a little bit lower level than us, so we're not going to find a whole lot of incredibly useful items here. Some nice wild infusions, but none of them are dual purpose, so they're not really going to be useful to us. It's not going to be worth the slot. Okay, so after you've done the ambush, whether you win or lose it, you need to go back to Last Hope and turn in a quest here. And after you bring it in, they'll ask you to go check out something in the Kingdom of Dwarves. And we're going to get on that in a couple of minutes here. But first, there's an optional bonus dungeon that I want to do before we leave for the east. And let me see if I can remember where it was. I think it was on the west side of the map. This is an event right here that if I was playing any different character, I would do this, but with only 1 life, I am almost certain to lose it here, so I'm just going to leave carefully. That's one of the hardest events in the game. It's a dungeon that is absolutely full of casters. They're almost the only type of enemy there. And it ends with a really rough sequence where you need a lot of mobility or you're certain to fail it, and I just don't feel confident in this character's build, or the gear luck that I've had to do that event, or any part of that dungeon really without dying, so we're just going to skip it. And that's something that's key, especially with optional dungeons. If you don't think you can handle it, don't do it. It's not worth losing a bunch of lives over just so you can get some small potential chance at bonus loot. I'm pretty confident we're going to be able to do this, though, so we have a chest right in the entrance, and just a green torque. The enemies in here are almost all undead. There'll be things other than undead, but not in nearly the frequency or amount. The undead enemies have a high chance to drop a type of chest armor called mummified wrappings, bandages, something like that. And oh, and we found an artifact, and I'll go over what that artifact is here in just a minute. The mummified wrappings are a type of item that can really only be found in this dungeon. I think I found it from a chest a couple of times otherwise, but they're not very good. They're a light armor. give you some decent bonuses, but they give you a huge penalty to fire resistance. It's almost never worth it to wear them because of how common fire damage is. So it's really just a cute flavor item. They tend to spawn with really nice stats on them. You'll get a lot of epic or not epic, you'll get a lot of blue and purple ego items here. Okay, so let's see what that artifact was. The artifact is one of two pieces that I've only ever seen drop in this dungeon, so I think they might be zone specific. The Crown of Eternal Night has no stats on it. It looks kind of crappy, but it's part of a set, so we're going to hold on to it and see if we can complete the set. I almost always find the other item in it because it's a mummy wrapping, so this will definitely be the best place to look for that piece, and if we do find it, it's apparently really good. I've never been able to complete the set though, so I'm not really sure. After doing Dreadfell, this place is actually kind of easy because it doesn't have any wide open spaces. You can usually get things to do a choke point and deal with them safely without having to worry about getting, you know, your butt handed to you by a powerful enemy. I saw a doomed shadow over here, so I think we're going to have to deal with a rare doomed enemy here in just a minute. Oh, no, just a umbral horror. You'll get lots of stray light gear in here. It's one of the first dungeons where it starts appearing. And you can conceivably do this place before Dreadfell. I actually had somebody recommend to me that I should have done this dungeon first prior to Dreadfell, and I usually do, but I thought I would be getting a little ahead of myself, and now I kind of wish I had. Here's one of the enemies that you will run into, probably around Lake of Nur at the earliest, and through the rest of the game. It's one of the hardest enemies in the game, and he's pretty unassuming, and chances are we'll probably actually kill him very quickly, but he can be very difficult for some characters, especially melee. He's a worm that walks. He's a Reaver type of enemy. He does a lot of disease damage, spawns these little blight clouds, and he spits out blight worms, which, when they die, spit out blight clouds. It's really hard to deal with them, especially if you have low blight resistance, but I think ours is, yeah, pretty high, so we should be fine on this fight with 46%. He is really hitting me hard. And he's healing fast, too. But thankfully we managed to kill him. He doesn't have a lot of health, and that's really the trick to killing the worms that walk. They can be a really difficult enemy to deal with if you try and take them on safely, so you kind of just need to burn them down as quickly as possible. Because the longer the fight goes on, the more chance he has to just sort of wear you down with attrition from his diseases, or just kill you with his overwhelming melee damage. Something to note is those are immune, I believe, to poison, and I know they're immune to blight effect, to blight damage in general. So if you're playing a character that relies on blight damage, like a Reaver or Corruptor, you're going to have a hard time with those. There's just no getting out of it. Another chest. I also had somebody recommend I change this, so whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Where is it? We'll just put that back on 6, and we are going to disable automatic use. Now we're going to change that to auto use when enemies are visible and adjacent. That way we'll only use it when we're in melee combat. We won't have any wasted turns. An unblemished silver crown. I didn't even notice we picked that up, so let's take a look at that and see what we got. I don't know what that is offhand. Crown of Command. I think that's a psionicist weapon, or helmet. Let me see. Yep, will, power, constitution, armor, defense, and yet it has melee abilities? I guess it would be for cursed, except they don't use techniques. I don't understand the huge amount of wisdom or willpower on this. I really don't. It's kind of a confusing item. Some of the items in the game are like that, where you'll find something that just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I guess it's useful maybe to Wormix, but I don't even know if they have access to those talent trees. Something I do like is that if you find something that really bugs you about an item or a piece of balance or a monster in the game, and you can word it in a way that makes sense and come up with some kind of a solution or replacement, darkgod is usually pretty good about receiving feedback from the player base. So, I mean, if you feel an item is too weak or an item is too powerful, don't hesitate to mention it on the forums. Just do it in a way that isn't going to come across as whining about gameplay balance, because nobody likes to see a crybaby because they died or whatever, but, you know, the game is in beta, and we are all effectively beta testing it. And as long as that's the case, you know, feedback, that's going to be warranted and wanted. And something I can give him a lot of credit for in his development of this game is that I've never brought a complaint to the forum and had it brushed off by darkgod. The mummies sure do like to drop gems, but I'm not getting that bandage artifact yet. Maybe from this guy. Nope. We're just going to keep moving. This is the last floor of the dungeon, by the way. The Elven Ruins is pretty small. The first two floors are much smaller than normal-sized dungeon floors, and the third floor is much larger, but the layout's pretty simple and easy to navigate. There's only a few really dangerous situations that can arise. If you're in one of these really long corridors and a really powerful worm ends up at the end, or a skeleton mage who isn't caught up on a corner like that last one was, you can actually take a lot of damage in here, and there isn't a whole lot of places to hide where you'll be out of range of the bolts or beam attacks. So you do have to keep an eye on that. Okay, so we have a Greater Mummy Lord here. This is the last boss of the Elven Ruins, or the only boss of the Elven Ruins. He's level 37. He's a caster type enemy. He has a lot of health. He does a lot of burst damage, but I find that his burst damage is really all that he has going for him. He can also go invisible. I mean, as you can see right there, we can't see him. And he's dead. So now we have Secrets of the Eternals, Speed, and Precision. I'm not sure what his deal is, but let's kill him as quickly as we can. There we go. So let's see what we got. Robe of the Archmage. If I didn't have so many points invested in Armor Mastery, I might actually equip this because it's so nice. I mean, arcane stats aside, that's a lot of armor and a lot of defense and a lot of other miscellaneous nice bonuses. Big save boosts. You can use this on pretty much any caster character. You can also use it on arcane blades if you don't have a lot of points invested in armor mastery. Anyone who can get use out of magic or willpower, it's good on. It's not the best robe in the game or anything, but it's really nice, especially if you can find it this early. It looks like we're not going to find that Wraps artifact, and I was really hoping we would, because I wanted to see what that set does, but I guess we'll see on another character, maybe hopefully one that will actually have more use out of arcane items. I'm thinking my next character is going to be an arcane blade, and I'll do a let's play of that as well. You know, whenever this character dies, maybe with the hopes of picking it back up wherever this character falls at. I don't mean to be a fatalist, I'm not saying that there's no way we could win with this, but I'm not feeling great about our chances with so few lives. But you know, maybe I'll surprise myself. My last character was damn near a roguelike winner with how many, Did I have anything else equipped in that slot? When you stop playing a character for a few days, you kind of forget what you're using. Oh boy. Bunch of luminous horrors. Thankfully, I think we've got pretty high light resistance now. No, we actually don't have any. That's the only stat we're weak on. But it's okay, they don't seem to be doing a lot of damage relative to our health. Have I leveled up recently? I might as well spend these. We're almost maxed on Constitution, and then after that we're going to put pretty much every other point afterwards into Dexterity since we're not having any issues with anything else. Finish maxing out that Greater Weapon Focus, and... oh, you know what? We don't have a lot of points in Armor Training yet. We should probably max that out. Maybe these wrappings will give us the unique item we need. No, it doesn't look like. I'd hoped, but it seems my hopes were in vain. Okay, looks like we're done here. Didn't really get a whole lot of interesting or useful things. I'll hold on to this controlled phase door rune though. That's pretty useful later on, especially since we didn't go anti-magic, since it gives us a reliable escape. The problem with the existing phase door rune is that it only teleports you a very short distance away and you have no control over it. And there's no minimum distance, so oftentimes you'll teleport and you'll end up right in the same square that you teleported from, or 2 squares away, right where the enemy you were teleporting away from can still hit you. This can be especially vexing for new undead players, since new undead players only have a phase door rune and a shield rune to start, and ghoul characters move slower than normal. Actually, no, I don't want to talk to you. I want to go to Last Hope. The last item we needed for the Last Hope Alchemist was a mummified bone, so we're going to run over here real quick and drop that off and get our free points of strength. Still having disk space issues. I really need to start doing my recordings on my other drive. I don't even remember where I'd left off. let's see if we can just qualify for that outright. Yes, we can. Hooray! So we've managed to help him. We've managed to help him become the main alchemist, I guess. I'm not really sure. I wasn't paying nearly enough attention. And we get this item, Taint of Telepathy, which is a scroll which inscribes in your body. I don't know if that counts as a rune. I've never actually gotten this on a non-anti-magic character, so I'm never able to use it. So we'll try that here in just a minute. We also got the Elixir of Brawn and the Elixir of Stone Skin, which are both buff stats we could actually use. Now let's see. Okay, so it counts as a rune or an infusion. What does it do? Oh, telepathy, I see. So it lets you detect other enemies that are nearby. I'll hold on to it. I don't know if it's going to be any use to us. Alright, now that we're done with the alchemist quests, we have one new dungeon that's opened up, and a gate into the old kingdom of Reknor. If that sounds familiar, that's because that's where we started as a dwarf. We just started on our escape. Now we're going there on purpose. The enemies here now are significantly higher level than they were in the lobby zone, because this is an endgame dungeon that everyone gets to do. And this is what leads up to the late game. This is basically the end of the mid-game. The transitional period between the mid-game, which ends with Dreadfell, and the late game, which begins in a new continent. And wow, we found a really nice shield right on the entranceway. So we got a Fire Dragon shield. Let's compare this to what we have equipped. So this is a tier 4 shield. Let's see if I can remember how to compare, and I can't, because I'm apparently dumb today. Oh god, what am I doing? Alright, let's take a look at what we've got here. Okay, the shield we have equipped is a tier 3, has relatively low block value, okay damage, some darkness and blight resistances, that's pretty nice, plus 3 block talent, and the other one has plus 5 block fire resistance, which is one of the hardest ones to come by, armor, defense that are much higher block value, much higher damage, and it does fire damage, so it ignores the armor of a physical wearer. So yeah, we're going to use this. That's a really nice shield. I like that. And it plays out pretty much exactly like Reknor did. Long corridors, lots of ore control type enemies. Some scattered treasure here and there. The levels are bigger than normal. And there's I think 5 levels, maybe 6. It's not nearly as hard as Dread. You know what? We're already at... Well, we won't be able to do any damage with our shield hits, but that'll keep us alive at least for the fire damage. Okay. Now I'm going to switch back to the shield we just stopped using, because I'm not going to do any damage if I have that equipped. We want to stay out of those fire clouds. They do damage over time, and they increase the fire damage you take. Fireworm type enemies, the large sort of dragons, are quite difficult to deal with, so it's advised you be extremely careful when you fight that kind of foe. They can do a lot of burst damage, and they tend to spawn in big packs with a bunch of smaller drakes that can also breathe fire. So especially if your resistances are low, if you see one off screen and you haven't moved yet, move away from it. Try and get it to come around a corner and then funnel into you. It's really easy to get overwhelmed by those enemies, especially when you're playing a really beefy character and you're used to not ever coming close to death. And then you might suddenly be surprised by the fact that, 6 fire-breathing dragons can kill you in 1 or 2 rounds. There's a dungeon later on that's basically Hubris, the vault that comes in at a later point that was just recently implemented, and really it is a rough place. And we hit level 30. Let's spend our points. I don't know which of these to take. We'll just finish out battle tactics. I'd like to max True Grit. It seems like it could be useful. I don't think I've ever had the opportunity to max it before, so just for shits and giggles, we will do it. I don't usually play bulwarks. I used to be a lot better with them, but I sort of gave them up for more offense-oriented classes after a while, because they can be a little bit dull to play. When the shield bashes are up, your damage is great, but otherwise a lot of the time it's kind of lackluster. And it can be a little frustrating at times. Straylight Dagger. Much like the original Reknor, the escape from Reknor is a very dull dungeon. There's not a whole lot going on here, just a lot of treasure and a lot of relatively easy to roll over enemies. I like to consider it a break after how hard Dreadfell is. Oh boy. What do we have up here? Okay. Multi-hued drakes. They can really hurt, as you might have noticed. It's because they have the breath weapons of multiple dragons and can sort of chain them together. They also have a bigger cousin in the form of worms, as well as 2 different unique types of worms that are very, very, very hard to cope with. I somehow managed to keep running out of space, and I'm not sure where it's all gone, because I didn't put anything on this computer between now and last week, and I know I deleted all my video backups, so I'm absolutely just floored, but again, I run out of space. Probably in mid-sentence. We'll try and see if this amount of space that I've cleared up can carry us till the end of the dungeon. Nothing really useful here. Actually, I probably wish I'd kept that Straylight ring, because that would have been nice, but alright, let's try and save this escort. This is one of the last places escorts can spawn. I actually wish that I hadn't just betrayed her. That was really stupid. Oh well. Oh well. Actually, that wasn't so stupid. I'm gonna take advantage of a minor little bug to fix my problem there. This is cheating, and I'm a cheater. It's not really cheating. Okay, maybe it is. Though, I'm gonna use this as an instructional piece. If you save and reload during an escort quest, and you've chosen to betray the escort quest, when you resume the escort, it should treat it, I believe, as, at least it did the last time I checked. It will treat it as if you, had chosen just to escort them regularly. And that might only be if it crashes. I'm not gonna go that far, but, so if you want to betray an escort, make sure you just get it in one go and don't save in the middle of it. Or crash. No, never mind. I'm completely wrong. Yeah, it happens if you crash. It's actually kind of a relief. I didn't want to soil this run with cheating. We'll up Nature's Touch some more. It can't hurt to have a heal that's even a little bit better, even though it's not much of a heal. Ow. Whoops. And I'm pinned. Oh my god. Which one of these is hitting me the hardest? Yikes. Thank God for that Nature's Touch, because that really saved me there. And a treasure chest. A solipsist blade horror. Lovely. There we go. That wasn't too bad. Dropped an artifact sling, but I'm not even going to look at it. God, he had a lot of life. More chests. Yes, please. Wait. Okay. What? There's an invisible orc assassin sitting next to me. I think we got them out of the last chest we opened. I didn't even notice him. He is hella invisible, isn't he? Jesus, you difficult fucker. Die. Where did he go? Is he an archmage? That's so annoying. There we go. What a pain in the ass. I should have put on my See Invisible amulet. That was just my stupidity there. Ouch. We're just going to keep exploring. Because as irritating and boring as Reknor can be, you can leave this place with quite a few nice items and artifacts. That's because most of the enemies here tend to equip gear. You'll find that when you get into dungeons like Reknor and Dreadfell, items seem to drop everywhere, and you'll see a similar effect in the maze. That's because the predominant enemies there tend to have nice equipment drops. Because they already have gear equipped, and I'm pretty sure if an enemy spawns with an artifact equipped, they will always drop it. Actually, I could be wrong on that now that I think about it. Nothing in here we really want. That shield's actually pretty nice, but it doesn't have the block value that ours does. And I forgot to re-equip my fire shield. Wow. Wouldn't have made exactly all the difference in the world or anything, but that's just sloppy of me. And I need to not be sloppy if I'm playing, especially if I'm playing for an audience. I think on this one we're just going to go for the downstair when we find it. Because I think I've had enough of Reknor and I'm probably going to run out of disk space soon, so I do need to hurry this along just a little bit. Oh god. Oh god, how am I going to get out of this? Do I have any means of teleport? Well, shield wall is down, that would help. Wonder how long that's been off for. That's something you gotta keep in mind, is that sometimes your sustains will fall off or you'll turn them off, and if you don't turn them back on, especially, you know, right before you leave or quit the game, when you come back, if you've forgotten to turn them on and you don't remember to turn them back on, yeah, that can put you into some dangerous situations. Ooh, we found one of my favorite items. Hooray, we found Titanic. Titanic is just a beefy shield. All it's got is armor and block value on it in defense, but it's so nice. It's also got armor hardiness, which makes our overall all of our armor better. It's really one of my favorite items in the whole game, so I'm glad we found it. It's only a tier 3, and I think the overall it's probably not going to be quite as good as what we had equipped. Actually, well, yeah. I like it so much. Let's see. Doesn't even bring our harmony hardiness above 100, and we're still doing plenty of physical enemies, so I'll hold on to that, and I'll just keep the fire shield for when I need it. It would have been nice to have found... Well, I managed to find out what was eating up all my fucking hard drive space, and I am officially going to say, screw you, Google, I don't know how the fuck you managed to do this. Somehow, my Chrome folder and my app data, a folder where traditionally there is no file over about, I don't know, 200 megs, had managed to balloon to 4 gigabytes, and all of it was history and cache data that I had deliberately deleted from my computer months ago. It had saved everything. It just took it out of the index in Chrome. I get that their whole business is you know, data mining and things like that, but if I tell you to fucking delete something, delete it. I don't want to suddenly find out after the fact that it's been sitting there on my computer the entire goddamn time. I'm absolutely disgusted right now. I've been meaning to switch back to Firefox ever since the issues I started having with a light that gives 1,000%, minus 1,000 light radius. I don't have any use for that. I'm just gonna drop that. That's garbage. Chrome's been having so many optimization issues lately. I'm just gonna switch back to Firefox. I can't deal with this anymore. I can't deal with Flash being slow. I can't deal with all my hard drive space getting eaten up. It's just ridiculous. Open the chest? What chest? There must be a chest underneath this trap here. Come on, where's the downstairs? I just want to get off this floor. There it is. Alright. Let's finish this dungeon so I can worry about my hard drive space issues. And we're running long anyway, so... How did that get knocked off again? I'm running into something that's disabling my sustains and I don't... And again I run out of space. The orc pride obeys a master? I see. Pride indeed. Okay, so this guy is a elite boss. He is the boss of Reknor. He's kind of just I think he's a Wormic. I've never really had too much trouble with him. He does hit kind of hard, but you can pull him into the corridor and fight him one at a time, and he's pretty easy. I wouldn't recommend fighting him in the open, though. Alright, we got him down. Parno, Herald of Lost Hope. Well met, Mirthless. I was sent with a message from King Talak. And then he vanishes into the shadows. Well, let's see what our message is. I know it's in here somewhere. Does he just drop it at his feet? Is that what he did? Oh, there it is. The staff you left at Last Hope is gone. A raid of orcs ambushed the guards that were transporting it to a secret vault. None of us could have ever expected that this would happen. I mean, really, who would have thought that the orcs who wanted the staff would come get the staff when we left the walls of our fortress city? If the king is dumb aside, we're done with this map, and we're done with the west, at least for now. Okay, what we got from him was it looks like a unique Mind Star. We also got this item called the Orb of Many Ways, which doesn't seem to really do anything. It's used for a quest, or not a quest, it's used to activate this portal right here, and far portals in general, other than the one in your base. So we're going to pop that Orb of Many Ways. And then we're going to come into the middle of a fight between an orc and an elven woman. And we only have the option to attack Krogar. I suspect from the dialogue that maybe in the future darkgod might add an option to side with the orcs, but doesn't seem to be in. Mirthless, boldly entering a shared Toolfar portal. And here we go. We're no longer in the west, we're now in the east, which is a whole new continent. And there's quite a few dungeons in the east, and wow, they're both bosses. I wonder what would happen if I killed that lady. I've never done it before. I might do that later on, though. Anyway, we're going to open up the next video with this little mini-boss fight and try and take it as far as we can into the east. Thank you for watching.